Quickly into space, Concepcion, blockers in front, and here he goes. KC says TD.
This is 365 Sports.
Final 30 seconds of the quarter, second down throw to the end zone. Douglas. Touchdown, Texas Tech. What a drive.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sorsby the key. What a cut!
Broken ankles. See ya.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Another first down for Vandy. Pressure off the edge. He steps up, and now he's going to run for the end zone and score. Diego Pavia.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Brown takes another shot. Wide open Koger. Touchdown, South Florida. 63 yards.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on this Tuesday afternoon. It is gorgeous, glorious outside. The weather is incredible. Hope you're where you live, no matter if you are on the East or West Coast or anywhere else in between, North and Midwest, etc. It is that pretty for you, too. Before you start, give us a wide shot here, Brandon. Do you have a wide shot of our whole thing? We have a missing piece. I know it's not the same without the Dragon. You've made that very clear. He will be here from what we've been told at about 4. He had some an appointment to finish up some dental work. So he'll be here in just a moment. So if you don't mind, if you'll just pay attention to Paul and to me, we would appreciate that. So, Katie Rader, good afternoon. No, Kim, good afternoon from 37,000 feet as he is on his way. Is he going back to Hawaii? Is that what he does?
I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. So,
I mean, look, he had to come back because something that's never happened before happened.
Yeah.
So, Kawhi's not going anywhere. No, it's not. I mean, hopefully not.
Yeah. It's only growing because of volcanoes.
It's where I got engaged. I love Kauai. It's my favorite. It's my favorite island.
So, Utah. This was interesting. In groundbreaking endeavor, Utah Athletics entering what could be a $500 million plus equity partnership with Otro Capital, featuring the creation and shared ownership for a profit entity to operate the athletics department, and that from Ross Dellinger. What does this mean? Because I didn't think I was going to wake up and it was good, but I know it's out there. We understand private equity, all that is out there. But is this now just again the what do you call it, the arms race or so?
Yeah, this one's interesting for a lot of reasons. There's tentacles to this. First of all, otro in Spanish means other. So the name of this is Other Capital, which makes it sound kind of vague, right? Smoky, I mean, all these things do. Like they make up these financial words or they take a word from another language and then okay, well, who are these people? Well, they're from New York. It's a Wall Street company, private equity firm. So it's an American company. I don't know where they get all their money from. Hopefully it's all from America or our allies. But anyway, I digress. Basically what this one is and why it's different is this is not private capital or private equity fund A that just comes in, gets their money in, and that's their kind of part of it, which is what the Big Ten deal was, which is what most of these things are. This one will allow Utah's biggest money boosters to buy into this new for-profit entity, which is basically the Utah Athletic Department. So now, in essence, what the Utah Athletic Department has are owners. They have people who own the athletic department. Well, if I'm a person who's been giving NIL money and not really like NIL is not a rate of return thing. If I'm a billionaire donor and I go and I make a donation for NIL, I mean, that guy could win. My rate of return is not financial. It's emotional. Oh, hey, I paid for the NIL, this percentage of the team, and they won an SEC title and a national championship. I get a nice warm and fuzzy because I was part of that. This actually allows them to now make money and get a rate of return on that, which I know if you are a big billionaire donor, that's great that now you can get rate of return. But the downside is now the athletic department is no longer owned by the constituents of Utah, the alumni of Utah necessarily, the fan base of Utah. It's owned like a professional team is owned by owners. So now if Texas Tech did this, I would feel pretty good about the ownership of my athletic department because they appear to have a good leader in Cody Campbell and a group of people who are in line. And a lot of professional sports franchises have capital funds that have bought into them. The Red Sox are one of them, but you have to still trust the owner. Like in the Red Sox case, it's John Henry, and it depends on how he feels about the team from year to year, how much invested he really is. Well, okay, so Cody Campbell is a good owner at Texas Tech if they were to do that. I don't know who the owners would be if I'm a Utah fan. Am I going to trust them? Are they going to really have the best interest of the athletic department and the university at heart? Or is this just a cash grab? And this, I don't think this is good. I think it's inevitable, but there's so many teams that have so much debt. I mean, I think Ohio State has $37 million of debt this year, which is why they were signing up for the private equity thing from the Big Ten. So I don't know how you stop it, and I just hope that it doesn't make the sports world of college even worse.
Well, Dan Wessel and others, of course, have written columns about this. Those of you in the chat have your opinions, and not all of you agree with whoever else writes about this, but approximately $500 million infusion of cash for the creation of an outside for-profit entity that would take over many business operations of the Utah Athletic Department. Correct me if I'm wrong. I went JUCO, so maybe I need to be like 2 + 2 = 3. But I thought that was the administration's and athletic department's job. Stated goal is to modernize commercial activity and maximize the revenue for Utah athletics, go from surviving to thriving.
Well, and look, part of this, we talk about all the time how modernized college athletics needs to get, but at the very core of what college athletics is, or look, the university system needs to get modernized. There's a lot of things that need to change. Tuition has gone up and up and up in life all over the place. It's not as consumers of everything. We're really not getting the best end of any of these deals. But if you look at it the way that colleges were started, nobody started the University of Utah because they were like, man, this is a great way to make money. It was just an educational pursuit, right? It's a public institution, a public university. So it's not stated goal is not to make money. Now that's changed over the years because now athletic departments are profitable and there's a way to make them constantly profitable if you do it right. So I understand wanting to modernize them, but also.
So who's the boss?
Good point. So right now, I mean, according to this, Mark Harlan is the boss of this, but he answers to a board of people who are of shareholders and all this.
But also, I thought he did that with his board of regents.
He does now, but this is now people who have nothing to do. Like, the good thing about the board of regents, for better or for worse, is that they all went to Utah. They all care about Utah. They love Utah. Ocho Capital. Do you know what Ocho Capital loves?
Money.
Ocho Capital.
Yeah.
That's what they care about.
Yeah.
So that's where this gets complicated. Here's another thing to keep in mind, Smokey. Professional sports teams all have owners, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if a business has an owner, if a business is now admittedly for profit, what are the people, sometimes I forget definitions. What are the people called that work at that place?
Employees.
Yeah. Okay. So
I don't want us to get too much more confused.
No. But like these are all things that have to consider is if you're going to make your athletic department for profit, then this whole thing about the student athletes are not employees, you will not be able to make that claim in any court in this country.
All right, here are some responses in the chat room because a lot of you are CEO of businesses, are pretty smart. Did I just say that? A lot of you in the chat room are also smart. Utah's athletic department is going to have to satisfy investors now. I always have hated Utah. I spent 4 hours yesterday in a meeting with private equity. I like the fact that, let's see here. There's a couple of more in here. Let's see here. It will make it worse, Paul. Utah Athletics now has a new boss. I asked you that. The Utes are flashing their money at the Big Ten, hoping to be invited inside for a little slap on the tickle. Oh, my God. Let me see here. What else? Let's see. Cody Campbell will become majority shareholder. I give Utah ball caps and coffee makers to my BYU family for Christmas. That's just let me see. There's a couple of more. How does a public school make a move like this without permission from the Utah government or taxpayers?
Great question. Fantastic question. Now, It might be written into the charter, or we are at a point in American politics where we ask about the money first and the legality second. Kim, generally speaking, private equity wants the businesses to continue running in the same manner that generated the profits they made them attractive to begin with. All right, so there we are. Listen, it's all the point is I didn't think I'd ever wake up. It's another thing. Never thought I'd see student athletes paid. It was overdue. Never saw we'd see 18 teams in a conference. We know what happened there. Never thought a player could leave no matter what, anytime he wanted and go to another school without any kind of consequences. I know all of this has become lawsuits and legalities and all that, but I never thought that I would ever see a business end up running a college athletic department other than what would be the donors and board of regents. Yes, and to Kim's point, that's exactly right. The problem is that each individual private equity fund is run by people with a different set of goalposts, right? Like they have a different idea of things. So hopefully this winds up being a net positive for Utah athletics and all of that. I just wonder if you are like you might be a Utah fan thinking, oh, great, that means we're going to be able to retain players. We're going to get the best players. We're not going to be running in debt. But then are you going to ask yourself, how much is going to cost me to get into a basketball game now? How much is it going to cost me to get into a football game? Like, where are the things that are in my price range now that will now be out of my price range because there are a lot more mouths to feed financially when it comes to this? And, just if you've gone to a pro sports game in the last 30 years, when's the last great deal you found?
Well,
the year after.
Here's an example.
I mean, prices just keep going up.
We went to the Big 12 game, covered it on Saturday. Our guys were starving to death, and I was too, because I didn't have the breakfast at the hotel, which is around the corner. I said, I'll get something. at the stadium, and they weren't quite ready to open up the buffet or whatever it would be. So I went downstairs, and there was some vendors, and I got 2, nachos with brisket on top and all the other stuff, and I got 3 brisket sandwiches. So I got 5 meals, $90. Now, that's stupid for me to pay $90, but all of us were like running on empty, and so I went ahead and did it. I'll write it off with my S corporation, whatever else. And I was also being a nice guy.
Don't. And yes, we appreciate it, Smokey.
No one said thank you.
You should also not say those things on video. Don't tell them about your write-offs. Just write them off and then see what happens.
Oh, no, it's a business.
Yeah, it was a business expense. But
all of that $90 for 2 things of nachos and 3 brisket sandwiches. There are no deals when you go to a stadium, no matter pro sports or college.
So, and the better deals currently exist in the college space, correct? So if you would decide what can I get my family a 4 into cheaper, a Utah Utes football game or a Cowboys game, it's always going to be the Utah Utes football game, but it's about to get more expensive than it was.
Yeah, good point. Conundrum, was the $90 with or without a tip? I gave the lady $20 to make it fast because they weren't open. And we were about to start the pregame at 9, and I was about a 2 to 4 minute walk away, so it wasn't that bad. So I gave her $20 cash. I said, ma'am, could you do this? How much is it? I ran my debit card, and they got it done for me. Now, Notre Dame's AD, and then we're going to get to some other things. Jamie Pollard, Iowa State AD, Kenny Dillingham, Arizona State football coach, some notes and nuggets on that too. We will have Ari Temkin today, Shahan Jararaja today, and also Brett McMurphy will try to tie a bow on all of what broke loose over the weekend. And even now, he'll join us too. Notre Dame AD Pete Bavacqua, remember, he was not happy. Pissed off Sunday, even madder, angrier yesterday. Here's the quote. We were shocked, mystified what happened Sunday. We had stay with me here, we had one of the most dominant 10-game runs in the history of college football. Notre Dame has had 25 other better 10-game runs than what they had this year. And here's why. And Brett McMurphy, with his little dry sense of humor, one of the most dominant 10-game runs in history of college football. Look at the records of those teams and those teams. Now, listen, don't mess with Navy. Don't put G5 next to Navy. But look, that is one of the most dominant 10-game runs when you've had teams go 14-0 and 13-0. You've had 2001 Miami and 95 Nebraska. I know that was 32 years or what, but what is he saying here? What is he trying to say? Pete, listen, you're running Notre Dame. You didn't get in. Okay, but you can be mad. But that was a dumb comment.
He's also mad about the targeted social media campaign.
Okay, we talked about okay, get over it.
Those are the two things. But let's see. 2-10, 2-10, 2-10, 3 times, a 3-9, and a 4-8. And the toughest part, look, that middle part of the schedule outside of Boston College is like Boise State's not easy. NC State's not easy. USC's not easy. Boston College gave you absolutely everything you wanted.
I'm not trying to interrupt you. But one of the most dominant 10-game runs
to
in the
use
history.
the word dominant, use the word dominant is hyperbole.
No. Using in the history of college football.
Yeah. Dominant should not even been in there.
Yeah.
And history of college football, like we went on a 10-game winning streak. Yes. That's a great, here's the point. Notre Dame was on a 10-game winning streak. They were jumped by Alabama, who has lost 2 of 3.
Right.
That's
Be
the
mad
point.
at that, but don't give me.
Don't try to fool us all with this hyperbole. And that's if college football wants to get at the root of what is killing it, if it is just a symptom of it, but it is everybody running in opposite directions for themselves. And what happens out of that is propaganda. Propaganda is not good. Propaganda is not based completely in facts most of the time. Propaganda is whatever you want it to be. And yes, one thing about this, they had a 10-game run. That's the one true part of the sentence. They are currently on a 10-game run.
Dominance
All
a bad
the rest
word.
of it is
the history of college football when Notre Dame themselves have had, like I said, probably 8 to 10 of those in their career. And if anyone should know it, it's the AD at Notre Dame. Now, Iowa State lost Matt Campbell. He moves on. Jamie Pollard said, good for him. He's given us everything he could give us. He doesn't owe us anything else in what he did. Here is Jamie Pollard, though. Again, the topic about coaches leaving. And here is what he said about the coaching carousel and why it is so toxic.
I don't believe our industry is focused on the right part of the problem. We're focused on all the damn symptoms, and we want to blame the transfer portal and the time and the window, and that's a symptom. It's a symptom of the problem. The problem goes back a long ways, and what the problem is, contracts are meaningless, right? Contracts are meaningless. The only thing a coach's contract does is spells out what you have to pay them if they fail. All the other pages that say all the wonderful things we're going to pay them if they're successful only matters if somebody else doesn't want to pay them more. That does not happen in the NFL. It doesn't happen in the NBA. It doesn't happen in Major League Baseball. Lane Kiffin shouldn't have been able to do what he does. Okay, the guy at Indiana, he's done an awesome job. But when Indiana renegotiated the contract last year in February, 8 years, $8 million a year, when Penn State came open, Indiana should have just said, you signed a contract for 8 years. Either take it or sit out and don't be paid. That's what happens in Major League Sports. No coach in the NFL is ever going to leave their team in the middle of the playoffs and then go to another. Until we get the congressional whatever, I'm not a lawyer, but whatever antitrust that the Major League Sports have, will never bring that back in. And as long as you have, that's why the players are getting paid. They saw the greed that agents and coaches have been exploiting for years. And I'm guilty of it now too, because you got to survive, right? So what we just did to Washington State is sad. It's sad, right? And that, quite frankly, was one of the things I wondered about. Like, can I, Jamie Pollard, ethically call him right now? Because I know he's probably going to take the job, but that means he's leaving that team after 1 year, right? But I didn't make the rules. I just got to live by them.
So that's Jamie Pollard. That's our good friend Nick Jost, by the way, external operations and AD at associate AD at Iowa State, who was here in Waco for a long, long time.
I got to tell you, Nick's got a good consigliere stance there.
Yeah,
he's
not
got a
quite
very
as
good,
he's
like
almost
Robert
Rich
Duvall,
Dalrymple-esque, making sure he was in the picture.
That like Robert Duvall and Godfather stance right there, Nick. I appreciate that. Everything that Jamie says here is totally true. I mean, it's, the contracts don't mean anything in the and here's the thing, in the NFL, when you want to hire a coach from another team after their season's over, like when the Bucs hired John Gruden away from the Raiders while he was still under contract, what did the Buccaneers have to do? They had to send trade compensation to the Raiders for the coach. That's what happened. Now, like he said, they are all antitrust protected, and college athletics is going to need antitrust protection. And once again, tying into our first topic, if there's going to be owners, you're going to need antitrust protection and collective bargaining together. So this is all dovetailing into, let's have a real conversation about where we are, and not like, oh, well, kick the can down the road, or, have politicians say, well, coaches make too much. Well, yeah, but you can't legally do anything about it yet. You can't do anything. So either work that out or shut up.
Yeah. All right. So two things there. First of all, Notre Dame threatening the ACC. I don't know if they actually ever came out and said that, but all right, who are you going to play? If you don't have any kind of all the other sports you have, and even football, even though you're not a part of the conference, you don't want to be a part of the conference. There's also consequences to that. And there are consequences if you're a part of one. But Notre Dame, shut up. I love the history and tradition, all of that. But come on. Most of the time, you pretty much get whatever the hell you want, and you're the only one. What other independents are there?
UConn, but not by choice.
Yeah, you're the only one that next year, if you finish in the top 12, no matter what you do, because you're not in a conference or what you get in. Nobody else is guaranteed unless they win a conference championship that they get in.
So
there's only about 5 of those.
I would also say this to Notre Dame when they say our relationship with the ACC is damaged. Part of saying that, because Notre Dame could have joined the Big Ten at any point in the last 100 years. At any point, Notre Dame could have called up the Big Ten and said, you know what? We want in. It's time. We're right next to all you guys. We'd rather play Ohio State, Michigan. Purdue's a rival already because they're in Indiana. We'd rather play teams in the Midwest because we're based in the Midwest. But they didn't want to do that. And they didn't want to do that because they had it good as an independent where they could boss people around. And then when their other sports, because of the way that college athletics grew, needed a home, they didn't go to the Big Ten because the Big Ten was like, it doesn't really do us any good to have these sports in it without you, so we don't want it. But what conference did need the other sports and could benefit from having a Notre Dame scheduling partnership? The ACC. So Notre Dame can go and be a nearly full member of the ACC, except for the one thing that everybody really wants, and still boss the ACC around. So could Notre Dame turn around to the SEC or the Big Ten, or even, I'll even say this because of who runs the Big 12, and go to any of those other three conferences and say, you can have all our other sports, our football's going to stay independent, and oh, by the way, even though we're not a football member, we're going to tell you what to do when it comes to football sometimes, and we expect you to do that. Is anybody but the ACC going to do that?
No. So you mean to tell me the Big 12, if Notre Dame called them, wouldn't do the same thing?
They might, but I do think, of course they would. But I do think that it may not be such a please. Like there might be a little bit more.
Brett Yormark would do. Yeah. I'm not going to say that. A lot of things.
I don't think they would get as much path of least resistance as the ACC. I think there's a little bit more because they were pushed around in the previous regimes of the Big 12. So I think there's some fan bases that would say, no, you're not going to tell us what to do.
Cha-ching.
I get it. But all right. I don't think the easiest path for them to get their way is the ACC is my point.
All right. Thank you. By the way, a couple of you have asked that Craig is out. Everything's fine. This is not anything to do with the feeling like crap for about a week and a half. He is at a dentist appointment. He needed to get something done. It's not urgent, but it was the only time available. He needs to get something done, so he'll be here at around 4. And then there's Kenny Dillingham. I always like listening to him, man. I think every coach has got a little bit of that BS in him, but he kind of seems to just kind of pop it out there on the transferring. The adults were the people who started this mess, and now people try to blame the kids. This isn't a kid's problem. Every kid that transfers, every kid that leaves, this isn't a kid problem. This is an adult's mess. And the reason he was asked about this was his star quarterback, Sam Leavitt, entering the transfer portal. This came out. They had a banquet over the weekend. He was not there. That kind of was disappointing. But again, he wasn't there. And then also, what do we have here? Is this the audio now, Brandon? So we have the audio. This is from Kenny Dillingham about Sam Leavitt and also the mess that is right. Well, here he is.
There's no right answer. I could give you an answer, and it's going to be a wrong answer still, right? There is no right answer here. We've created a mess, point blank. The whole industry is a mess, right? The only thing that's not a mess is the dollar signs. Those are still pointing up. Everything else is a mess. The dollar sign, the business of it, that's skyrocketing. Everything else is a mess. That's just being transparent and honest. There's not, other than the ratings, the dollars, the money involved, it's a mess. Yeah. So this is just another piece of the mess.
And he was asked about the legacy of Sam Leavitt. I'm going to leave that to Sam's team out of respect for him. I love Sam. Sam grew so much here. I grew so much learning from Sam. Whatever his future holds, I wish him nothing but the best. I can sleep all at night knowing we helped him progress along his journey. I'm very confident we're going to have a very, very good quarterback at Arizona State. He's talking about next year. It won't be Sam Leavitt, but he already has been in touch, I'm sure, with somebody else who's coming to Arizona State to somewhere else. But Sam Leavitt and our good friend Doug Tomorrow, who's the SID Media Relations at Arizona State, said, I wish more Arizona State fans would read or listen to him talk about Leavitt, Dillingham. He's the one losing his quarterback. He has not at any way, shape, or form said he blames Sam Leavitt or he's mad at Sam Leavitt. He got what he could get out of Sam Leavitt. Now Leavitt will go get some more himself.
Also, when you're a super badass quarterback developer, this is a bump in the road to you. And to approach it anything other than that, no one's irreplaceable. And Sam Leavitt was fantastic for Arizona State, but he was hurt a good portion of his first campaign and most of this year. So they had to play without Sam Leavitt anyway. So he's seen the reality of that. And now Leavitt's on his way out, and that's the nature of the business as it stands right now. But if you are a quarterback who wants to get better, there are few coaching casinos that you can go to that pay out better than Dillingham's. I mean, he absolutely is a A-plus quarterback developer. It's him and Lincoln Riley and right now Eric Morris. Guys like that are excellent quarterback developers. So if you have an opportunity to go, I mean, he's made – I think Bo Nix is probably his crowning achievement because if you were – and he was with Bo Nix at Auburn – but if you watch Bo Nix at Auburn, you saw a Bo Nix that had flashes, but sometimes didn't wake up until the fourth quarter flashed up. When his teammates were walking down the field holding that number 4 up, then he'd be like, oh, is the game started now? Let's go. And then when he had him at Oregon, he turned him into a Heisman Trophy candidate. And now he's one of the more exciting young quarterbacks in the NFL who's leading a division-leading team that's finally going to unseat the Kansas City Chiefs for the AFC West.
I still think if you look at a picture of Bo Nix and then you look at a picture of back in the day with Bill Romanowski, that's his son. That's it. Now, you mentioned Heisman Trophy. Well, the 4 finalists were introduced or released last night. Jeremiah Love, the running back at Notre Dame. Fernando Mendoza, quarterback at number 1 Indiana. Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt quarterback. And Julian Sayin, the quarterback at Ohio State.
I don't have a vote. I just want to reiterate it again. I don't have a vote. I would like a vote.
Brandon, do you have a vote for the Heisman? Garrett, do you have one? Does Andrew? You have a vote for the Heisman?
Have a vote for the Heisman Trophy.
He said, no, he's in La La Land over there.
Yeah. Just saying, as a now decade-plus long member of the Football Writers.
I am fortunate. I don't know how many years it's been. It's been a while now.
But I do. I
think I pooped my pants when I got that email. Like, hey, no, I didn't do that. I may have.
I don't.
I got a chance to be a Heisman voter, and how quickly did I send that back? And yes,
I don't pander and beg often, but this is something I really, really want in my life. I think these are all great candidates. If they were only going to pick 4, I might have clipped Julian Sayin off the bottom and swapped in Jacob Rodriguez because I am a big proponent of getting more defensive players at least sitting down in New York for this award and hopefully maybe winning it like once a decade. Just give me one badass defensive player once a decade, and my crusade will be for something.
But there's only one in Ndamukong Suh.
And that's what this really, that was the flashpoint of my realization for this. And I saw him play in person 3 times that year just because they were all around here. And I thought, man, it's the best football player I've seen. And maybe I don't know as much as I think I do, but I do know that like when they're game planning for this guy, and right now with Texas Tech, when you are sitting in that offensive meeting room, you want to know where 12, like you are telling everybody when people do this, 12 is here. When people do this, 12 is here. And there's other guys you have to deal with. But I promise you the first one they mentioned is Rodriguez.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he's in that vicinity, but they only bring 4. They used to just do 3. And then it got one of the problems I have with the Heisman, and I have a lot of problems with a lot of things these days. There's so much, like a Super Bowl pregame is 5 hours. And I know a lot of you may sit there and watch every second of it. I get to the damn game. The Heisman Trophy, they have great features. There's a lot of features. I hope that Emma Rodriguez, Jacobs, like if he was there, that would be a part of the feature about the Texas Tech linebacker. But there has to be a lot more too. But that is one that's just unbelievable because of her and the fact she's a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. Now, so those are the 4 finalists. I can't say anything.
But I would have if any 4 of their names are read on Saturday night, I'll have no problem with that.
Winning it?
I mean, like even Julian Sayin, I mean, like he's the quarterback, one of the best teams in the country. He's probably out, but like, I mean, my personal 1, 2, 3 would be Pavia, Love, and Mendoza.
Okay.
That would be my personal 1,
I can't
2,
talk
3.
about it.
I know, but like my personal 3 is those
you try
3.
to trick me because you want my vote.
I genuinely don't care right now. I want to know on.
I'll let you guys know Monday.
On Monday,
I'll
that's fine.
I'll release it Saturday evening, but I might be on the beach with a pina colada or something like that on Saturday. Let me see here. Let's see. One of the things in the chat is about that Sorsby at Cincinnati would probably be a great next choice for Arizona State. Which, if you're Cincinnati, you go like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Dirk 93. All these numbers, we got to figure that out. What it is. Notre Dame got screwed more than BYU this year.
Yes, that's true. Well, actually, I think they both got screwed by different things, but both screwed by the same team in that they took, like I said yesterday, they took one. That's the poll question that's up. They took one team from each jar, the jar of Notre Dame and Miami that was not playing in the championship game, and then Bama and BYU that lost in the championship game. And they took Bama and said, you're fine, you have no consequences. And then they took Miami and Notre Dame and said, well, Miami beat Notre Dame, so we'll throw them in here. So you can either take both things out of the conference championship loser jar or both things out of the didn't go, but we're still good teams jar. You can't take one out of each one and then expect people to go, makes sense.
Okay. Ari Temkin coming up around the corner. This is from Dennis Haiti. I don't think the Ivy League has ever regretted their decision to decouple from big-time college athletics. And they're even doubly sure about what they did this very moment.
Well, yeah, but they operate at a different stratosphere academically than a lot of places do too. So yeah, but maybe, I mean, that's true. They don't like their sports don't run their university, and that's all well and good for them. But the hay's out of the barn for everybody else now.
A couple more awards, then a break. Drew Mestemaker, the freshman, remember, from North Texas. Obviously, the season didn't, or the regular season, the loss in the conference championship game, was named the Burlsworth Trophy Award winner last night. It is given to the nation's most outstanding player who began his career as a walk-on. And, of course, there's a lot of questions about where he'll end up playing in Denton or possibly in Stillwater or elsewhere next year. What a great story that is. Didn't even start in high school, where he was. It was at Vandergrift, at Vandergrift High School. And Matthew Pallage is leaving Baylor. He was there twice. Most recently, he was hired. He was at Oregon with Dan Lanning. Before that, he was at Baylor as a defensive back and special teams coach. He then goes to Oregon. Dave Aranda brings him back, hires him as a defensive coordinator, and then after the first year, Aranda starts calling the plays on defense. So Pallage, this was something that I started seeing happening and was able to pop this last night. He's headed to North Texas. He will be the defensive coordinator for former West Virginia and Troy head coach Neil Brown, who was introduced in Denton.
Happy for Matt that he's got a gig. And look, this is the challenge that Baylor's going to have with their coaches from now until spring starts and their setup, and maybe even after that, because it's essentially, unless like there's just massive, boon in the transfer portal in the late signing period in February. This is going to be a really rough year for Baylor on the field, and it's a lame duck coaching staff more than likely. I mean, we don't know that, but right now it is a lame duck coaching staff. So if you're an assistant that has another opportunity, it's probably best that you take it because it's more guaranteed.
All right, Larry Fedora, George Munoz, Ron Roberts, Jeff Grimes, Eric Mateos, Kevin Curtis, Caleb Collins, Mason Miller, Matthew Pallage. All. Now, we know Miller had the incident earlier this year and pretty much like walked himself out. And I don't know about others. And there will probably be others even on this year's staff. I've said this before. Dave Aranda's coming back for another year. Nothing else unless Doug McNamee would be a hero for a lot of people if all of a sudden he goes, screw it. We're going to bite the bullet. You know what I learned over the weekend? That there might have been one or two donors that said to Mac Rhodes a few weeks ago, we'll write the check for his buyout. And he said no. That was before. Now, but those are all coaches who are on there that used to be a part of the Baylor staff. Most of them fired. Of course, Joey McGuire was a part of that staff too, and eventually got the job offered at Tech and ended up there. And we saw what he did with his team this year. There are a lot of coaches. There's about 3 a year on that staff that seem like they're in rotation. And the latest, Matthew Pallage on his way to coach the defense at North Texas. Kendall Briles leaving for South Carolina. This has been out there for 3 or 4 days. Kendall Briles is now going to be joining Beamer. Shane Beamer's staff was at TCU, was at Arkansas. He was with what? Was he with Florida State? Mm-hmm. Is that right? And now he will take the job at South Carolina. And the reaction I saw from TCU fans was not like, oh, damn. There were a lot that I saw, and usually you're going to hear more from those who are angry or bitter about good.
I would say relief. I think there's a little bit of relief there. What I've been kind of baffled about with the Kendall Briles offense at TCU was the running game everywhere else he's been, for the most part, has been dominant or at least, effective. And at TCU the last 2 years, it's not been there. And I don't think it's a talent problem. I just don't. I think that part of it is that a lot of his stuff, I can watch TCU right now, and I can kind of call out plays from when I remember he was calling them here at Baylor. He's got to adapt a little bit. Hopefully South Carolina, infuses him with that adaptation, because he is a really good coach and a good play caller. But I do think that he needs a little bit more of a creative bend there. But he's an excellent quarterback coach. As far as that goes, play caller like that right now needs a little tweaking. I wouldn't change anything about the way he coaches quarterbacks. His quarterback coaching, whether it's Josh Hoover, whether it's Jordan Travis, who we got to FSU out of the transfer portal from Louisville, whether it's anybody that was here at Baylor, all of those, I think he's done an absolutely outstanding job. And if Lenora Sellers stays at South Carolina, I think he'll do a good job there. And Aaron Noland is the heir apparent, no pun intended, at South Carolina. And I think you do a good job with Aaron Noland.
When we come back, Ari Temkin will have Shahan Jararaja and Brett McMurphy. Craig's off the radar. This is 365 Sports. Baylor alumni and fan engagement. I got a text the other day, a couple of days ago, from Doug Furch. He was asking me about what's going on with the Baylor staff, and as far as the AD with Doug McNamee about to be introduced, and always trying to, and was also talking about the coaching staff. Doug was a coach. He was a college coach. And he's very much entrenched in high school football coaching, too, in the state of Texas. So we were just going back and forth on football matters, high school and college. But he runs, and along with Paul Thorpe, handles the Baylor alumni group when it comes to athletics. So when they're on the road, they set things up. They'll go scout hotels, team hotels, where they could have tailgating. Football season for Baylor's over, even though they got another bid for a bowl game. That's done. They've moved on. But there will be more events, speaking engagements, and more, and they will be the ones that help you out. And if you have something you want to do with Baylor alums, donors, fans, etc., where you are and you're away from the state of Texas or away from Waco, contact Doug Furch or Paul Thorpe. They can help you with that too. It's the Baylor alumni. Go to Facebook at baylor.edu.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in all-lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Do appreciate everybody joining us on Twitter and also YouTube, 365 Sports. And I was on earlier today, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn with Ari and James, and enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure they hang up every time and go, damn, why do we keep bringing him back? Ari, thank you, buddy. Appreciate the invite. I enjoyed it. So when you heard the name of, let's start with just a quick note about the Baylor AD and Doug McNamee. We know him, but had you ever heard of him?
No, not in particular. I think, when you look at the skill set required to be an athletic director in today's day and age, it's a completely different skill set than what we've seen, throughout history, where, you needed to have somebody that was tied in with the athletic department that, kind of knew the ins and outs of college sports. And now, you're looking for a revenue guy now. That's the biggest piece to it. And so, ultimately when any new athletic director is hired for any school within the Big 12, the number one thing I'm looking at in terms of reaction is, what have they done from a revenue business building standpoint? Obviously, the new athletic director at Baylor fits that to a T. It's a completely different role today than it was 5 to 10 years ago. And I think we're seeing that with the types of people that are hired for those jobs.
Ari, he does step in on like a weird timeline when it comes to the football coach. What do you think the messaging has to be? Because unless something comes out of the blue in the next 4 or 5 days, I don't think that Dave Aranda's not going to be the coach for any reason next year. And that's going to make it harder for them to acquire talent. They already have coaches that they've dismissed. They've got coaches that are leaving and all that. It's going to be a very weird year football-wise.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it looks like a lame duck year. Ren Baker, when he was hired as the athletic director of West Virginia, he didn't immediately fire Neil Brown, and he basically said that he wanted to give it a year to get a better sense of how the athletic department functioned and, more specifically what the football coach, looked like and how he ran meetings and he observed. And look, I mean, Ren Baker did that for a year. They had success at West Virginia. He gave him an extension, and then a year later he fired him. I would imagine it's the same situation at Baylor. I certainly get the decision by Linda Livingstone and the Baylor administration to, give it some time. I think they wanted they wanted time to figure out who their athletic director was and was going to be. And I don't think they want to be rushed to make a decision on that. And then of course, make a decision on the football coach. So I'm sure for Baylor fans, you're looking at this thinking, oh, wow, I can't wait for this 2026 season to get here as the 2025 season ends. Because I'm not sure you could expect it to look much different than what it looked this year. And I'm not even really sure what the expectation should be going into next season for Dave Aranda and what it looks like for him to keep his job. But obviously we see that, there's assistant coaches that are already looking for the exit ramp to try to find a safe landing spot with Matt Powledge. I mean, normally you wouldn't think that a coach would leave Baylor to go to North Texas for for the same job, but when it looks like you can potentially have that same job for multiple years and it doesn't look like that at Baylor, it certainly seems more attractive. So I think, that decision certainly appears to be setting in motion what many of the coaches along Baylor staff probably think long-term. And, again, in a world in which you constantly need forward momentum, you need to sell optimism to the fan base, to the program, to, the people. Like, there's not much optimism right now that's being sold to Baylor fans, and I get it.
What are your thoughts about Utah and private equity getting involved with their athletic department?
Yeah, it seems inevitable, doesn't it? It's surprising, I guess, that it was Utah that made the first jump into it, and I haven't yet had a chance to digest the particulars of it. But it's really interesting because they're getting equity in basically a private entity business that Utah's establishing, and is this separate from the Utah, athletic department? Is it separate from Utah, the university? I'd love to see how these are structured, and that would give me a much better sense of just, from a business standpoint. And then, look, anytime private equity's in the door, you worry about how much say that they want to have. And, ultimately, I think that's what's guiding decision-making. I think a lot of schools right now are going to hang on for dear life as long as they can until this becomes the norm, until they can't, because now you're competing with other programs that also have access to that kind of money. But I do think, Smokey, this is completely inevitable. It will, I would assume, become, widespread across all of college sports at the school level and at the conference level. And I think, the conference, we know the Big 12, took bids, had opportunities and looked at what that could look like. And my guess is they basically told the individual schools, hey, the best path forward is for you to make these deals on your own. And then over time, with enough schools that are signed up, we'll make these at the conference level. But the money is the name of the game. We just saw Texas Tech win a Big 12 championship, outspending all the other programs of the Big 12. They didn't just spend the money, though. They spent it in a proper way that, prioritized certain positions. They didn't need a quarterback, which helps when it comes to the portal because so much money tends to be tied into the quarterback position. Just ask Sam Levitt. So it's inevitable. I would certainly not advise programs to do it. And I'd, again, love to see the writing what it looks like, but the private equity's not in it to make money back. They're looking for, a legit return, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1. They want to hit certain thresholds every year. And, even though it might look and appear different at spec, that's at the end of the day, what they're tasked with.
Ari, the thing that concerns me about it is now essentially college athletics has owners. So, that's like this Utah thing. That's what it makes it, is where, if say you and I decided to buy Kansas basketball, And now my wife and you are in charge of Kansas basketball, essentially, because you as alumni have a stake, and then Ocho Capital has a stake, and the university has a stake, and all of that. For every, and I'll just use this example, for every Jeff Lurie in the NFL, there's a Dan Snyder. For every Al Davis, there's a Mark Davis, right? Like every thing. So fans may be like, oh, hey, we're going to have a bunch of money for our team, but you're not going to guarantee that a guy like Cody Campbell, who's got this thing kind of figured out, is the one who's running it. It could just be the guy with the most, and he may not know what he's doing.
Well, and chances are they don't, right, Paul? I mean, that's nobody wants you or I running Kansas basketball unless you're a Baylor basketball fan, I guess. No, I mean, I think it's extremely well stated. And look, I mean, some schools are going to be better positioned than others. Texas Tech's one that you mentioned. Like Texas Tech doesn't need private equity because they've got their own bank with Cody Campbell. I think Kansas is in a similar situation because David Booth, who invented the index fund, is a alum, and he invested $300 million in their football facility, and then another $300 million in his own, in his own investment fund, in his own index fund, if you will, that averages, I think, like a 25% return year over year. So you take $300 million in 1 year, and the next year it's 25% increase, and then another year it's 25% increase, right? Like now you've got a pretty good bankroll there. So, I think like every school has to make their own decisions. I think how it's written, to your point, in terms of like ownership, makes a huge difference here, and how the money gets inside and infiltrates the building, and are they looking to be helping from a personnel standpoint? Are they looking to help out from a efficiency standpoint? Hey, maybe we don't need this many people working in the athletic department. We, instead of 4 people doing the 4 jobs, maybe we have 2 people doing the 4 jobs because we feel that those 2 people can do those 4 jobs. I think there's no doubt that like anybody that's ever been involved in any sort of private equity business understands that, again, the returns need to be at a certain threshold. And that's just not even mentioning, Paul, what you brought up in terms of like the football and basketball side of things from an ownership standpoint. So, I mean, look, this is getting the foot in the door. You'd be hard pressed to think that with the foot in the door, they're not trying to get more and more control. And I think that's the concern that a lot of universities have. But the problem is, if you don't have access to billionaires at your disposal that are then willing to take that money and invest into the program, they're falling far behind. And I think, Utah probably looked at that relative to Texas Tech and relative to some of the other big spenders in the SEC and the Big Ten, and thought this is our best path forward.
Ari, the Big 12 is down to 1 team. I know there are bowl games, although not as many as they're supposed to have because of K-State, Iowa State opting out, and then others who didn't want to opt in when they got that opportunity. So it's down to Texas Tech. BYU gave it a hell of a run, and, among others. But your thought about what has to happen? Is there anything that can happen other than Texas Tech winning multiple playoff games that gives this conference a little bit different pizzazz as they enter the offseason?
I don't know that they need to win multiple. I think, winning a quarterfinal matchup and getting to semifinals, I think would go a long way, because at this point, I mean, I think we can all agree that Texas Tech is as good as any top end program in the SEC or the Big Ten. I mean, they are severely underrated right now, it appears, across college football, because you've got college football observers that, probably don't know, that just believe that they've beat up on a bad conference here, as opposed to a conference, as we've seen, that spends, 13 weeks beating up on each other and being a league of parity. So I think, like, number one, line one, the conference took a huge step forward this year, in being more top heavy and having more of a litmus test type program to which you could measure the other programs. And I think not only is Texas Tech, top end good, but they're not just good at the skill position like we've seen Big 12 schools be in the last 25 years. Like, they're really good up front on both lines of scrimmage. So I think that has some staying power. Like, my guess is they're going to get Oregon in the Orange Bowl. I think they win that game. And I think that says a lot in terms of the national consciousness about how good this conference is, because I think a lot of people are going to pick Oregon because they're going to just completely dismiss Texas Tech for the conference. And then, I mean, look, depending on the matchup in the semifinals, I don't know how far you have to go. Do you have to get to the national championship game to earn respect? I think winning one game, if you're Texas Tech, beating Oregon in the Orange Bowl, winning the game you're supposed to win, would go a long way, because again, I think this and especially depending on how you do it, like if you beat them up front, like you've been beating Big 12 schools, I think that says a lot. And it's sort of how we've seen Georgia and Ohio State and some of the big brands win at the highest level within recent history. So look, I think it's obvious that the league has turned a corner this year. Maybe public perception hasn't quite caught up with it, but I think give them a win and that will change a lot in terms of how people feel about this conference and Texas Tech in particular.
Yeah, I think, like the rematch of just a terrible, like the terrible draw for BYU. Like here's what we know about BYU. They can't beat Texas Tech. We have no idea how they match up with anybody else. Like none, because, well, I mean, they've, 10-0 in their other games or 11-0 in their other games that didn't play Texas Tech. Like, I think that kind of hurts them a little bit, and where the SEC is just like, they rematch all the time. They've had all that year of doing it. I would have been curious to see, and like, I understand leaving BYU out, especially if you also leave Alabama out. Now that's a different conversation for a different thing, but I would be curious to see a second Big 12 team to get in to maybe have that measuring stick of an elite team in the league against somebody else in the playoff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. And, look, I'm not going to make the case that BYU should have been included in the playoff. There probably was a greater case to make for that than ESPN wanted to make. It's clear that BYU from a national perspective, isn't in the same ilk or standing as, I think winning 22 of 26 football games might indicate. And, it sucks for BYU. They're a really good member of the Big 12. They've been a huge addition. And, it's clear their football program is upper echelon and a upper tier for this conference. And, look, it would have been really interesting to see what the season would look like had Jake Retzloff still been their quarterback now as he leads Tulane into the playoff. I certainly think long-term they're better positioned with Bear Bachmeier having played these snaps. But, obviously in 2 games against Texas Tech, Bear looked like a freshman. And, I mean, he was for good reason. I mean, there was a strip sack on him where they burst the line of scrimmage before it seemed like the ball was even snapped to him. And, I mean, he's trying to make plays down the field and he doesn't even see Ben Roberts, who makes these 2 unbelievable individual plays that makes him look like a freshman. So, yeah, I mean, to me, the idea that like, well, if Alabama didn't get punished for losing as badly as they did in the SEC, why did BYU get so punished? I don't agree with that. I think Alabama had just a better resume overall. Now, the fact that they didn't move at all, given the 20-some point loss they had to Georgia, seems a bit ridiculous. And, and obviously everybody's thinking Notre Dame got left out, and BYU once again had a good case to make instead of Notre Dame, because if playing the conference championship game shouldn't hurt you, then why would it hurt BYU? I think that's just a asinine thing. Like, playing in the conference championship game and losing should hurt you. Like, I don't really get why it wouldn't, because yeah, it's an extra game that not every team has, but like getting there is important, but winning and being competent in that game is also important too. And like, I just like, I hate the idea and hope that the committee doesn't subscribe to the idea that like, you don't like, how can you only benefit from it? That makes no sense. If you can benefit from it, then you should be able to not benefit from it. But I digress.
Yeah. We got to go, but it's like you can benefit from not being a part of a championship game, right? So that's part of the
Notre Dame can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
who else did though?
When I say benefit, Vanderbilt wasn't a part of it, but they didn't go up or down on theirs. But
maybe
yeah,
Ole Miss, the Texas A&M, Ole Miss, had they played, maybe they wouldn't have been in it. But like, I mean, that the reality is, it feels like you should certainly get a benefit from playing in that game, but also like for it to hurt you, for it to not hurt you for losing it, especially if you get boat raced. Then what's the incentive to even play and play well in that game and play your guys?
Yeah. Ari, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for the invitation earlier today. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.
Guys, take care.
Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Shahan Jawaraja, CBS Sports is next. And then Brett McMurphy will try to, man, you talk about a guy's phone who was lit up as he's trying to figure out the bowl games and all that with all the opt-outs, etc. He'll join us too. And this is 365 Sports. And Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store, Lake Air Drive in Waco. The Bauer family has been in the butcher shop business for a long, long time, and they still have a business that is more of a distribution for restaurants and more, and they just do a fantastic job, the Bauer family, with a full-service butcher shop and also a full-service bakery with all of what you ever need when it comes to cooking. And, of course, tailgating season, although there's a few left with A&M, probably others having games left. You may want to get something and you need marinades or you need the seasoning, you need the tri-tip or the brisket and everything else in between. Sausage, wings, they have it. Full-service butcher shop, and up and down the aisle, there's two full aisles of knickknacks, snacks, and everything else. But the marinades, the seasonings, the fuel pellets for the smoker and for the grill, and, of course, charcoal and more. They've got tubs of tri-tip and briskets. It's delicious. And they also have fresh vegetables on occasion out there for you, too. It could be just for dinner. You want prime rib for the holidays, for Christmas? You want something else, they can do it for you. They'll cut it for you. They do that for my ribeye steaks, and they are absolutely delicious. Cold beer and wine, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Shahan Jararaja, CBS Sports. Tuesdays with us throughout the football season. Always a great treat. And he joins us, Paul Catalina. Craig should be here any moment now. He's been at the dentist, and so the Dragon will be back with us in just a moment. Shahan, I saw one of your responses to Baylor and the reports about hiring Doug McNamee. We've known him, but this was not who I thought. I know his name was out there a little bit. Your thoughts about the hire? You're a Baylor alum.
Yeah, well, I think it was certainly a surprise when it first happened. And, look, I think that on its face, like, let's get to kind of the elephant in the room, right? He's somebody who hasn't worked in college athletics in 7 years. He's somebody who obviously has been in private business for a while since then, hasn't been part of the NIL era. But, I talked to some Baylor people that I really trust after the fact, right? And one of the things that they pointed to is he has a lot of background in, obviously, the relationships in this community. He's been part of 2 successful athletic departments at Baylor, both with Mac Rhodes and Ian McCaw. And also, of course, he is a master of fundraising and revenue generation. And, they kind of made the pitch to me, like, this is that moment where that needs to happen, right? This is a moment where having money or not is kind of the biggest existential threat facing this athletic department. Now, I think that, look, my opinion is still, I think that there are certainly other directions that they could have gone, where maybe you get somebody who has a little bit more backing in college athletics, who maybe has a strong background in fundraising as well. But I think that I understand a little better maybe sitting here today than I did when the news came out, why they went this direction. Now, there's going to be a big learning curve. I don't think that there's any doubt about it, right? Stepping into this ever-changing world of college athletics with new rules every single day, new figures, Congress, like all these dynamics that Doug McNamee did not have to be a part of during his 7 years at Baylor before. But I'm curious to see how he handles some of these new dynamics.
One thing I will say, and like Smokey said, we know him. I like Doug as a personal friend, but I don't know. Like people ask me, how do you think he'll do? I said, well, I don't think it's completely up to him. I know he'll work really hard at it. Like it's, I know that he will give it his all. So that what I can tell you about Doug. But the other thing I'll tell you is that Doug's a Baylor lifer, so that in a good way, this is not a stopover job for him. So I do think that, especially in this moment with Baylor, that's more of a benefit than, it's a notch on the resume. This is his dream job.
No, 100%. And I think that matters, right? I think that being able to come into this community and already have a large amount of backing and a large amount of credibility of people in the community, obviously, like you mentioned, people who have been in the media for a little while as well, like that stuff matters, right? Like to not have that learning curve. I mean, I talk about a learning curve with obviously settling into the job. That's a learning curve that he won't have to figure out. It's learning how to navigate the Baylor community and obviously some of the corporate interests as well around. And I mean, it's been well reported, right, that he obviously was very involved with fundraising going back a decade to when I was a student over there hanging out with you guys as well. And so, yeah. I think that all that stuff is very well taken, right? And like you said, I mean, so much of this job is going to be dependent on factors that aren't him. I mean, I think that Baylor probably doesn't make this kind of hire if they don't have a president like Linda Livingstone, who's been very involved in the national college athletics landscape. I think that if you don't have some really familiar faces like Scott Drew helping to lead the way in the athletic department, to not have to make some of these key hires. But that's also, I think, the sort of interesting and sort of big risk of it as well, is like there's a pretty good chance, not necessarily that it's going to be next year, but in the next couple of years, he's going to have to make a football hire. We know that he was on the selection committee that picked Matt Rule, which was a tremendous hire, of course. But he's going to have to potentially make a football hire. Maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, it could be a basketball hire, a women's basketball hire, right? So those are, I think, some of the unknowable dynamics. But again, what's kind of been said to me by some people that I trust is if we don't have the revenue piece figured out, none of the rest of this stuff matters. And I think that that's a pretty compelling case, at least.
So, Shahan, the Baylor, there's still a lot of work to be done. Like I've asked, just like Paul, well, I don't know if it's the right hire. Could they have, because Linda Livingstone mentioned something about a Power 4 AD, and then she kind of explained that a little bit yesterday. But let's get to college athletics. I don't know if you heard the Jamie Pollard audio about how he was talking to Rodgers, knowing Matt Campbell was probably going to leave, and yet he was basically all but tampering and admitted that because he needed to know because he knew Matt Campbell was going to leave. But it's just a cycle. And then we have all the players get to leave whenever they want. And it's all about legal and all that. Is there really ever going to be any time where we have this stuff together? Is this going to be the way it's going to be forever?
So I think the 2020s is going to be this moment of dynamic, transformative structural change, right? Because, I mean, again, I mentioned it. 2016 was when I graduated from Baylor when I was still down there with you guys. And to think about where college athletics was then versus how much it's changed just since I've been a professional in the industry, it is totally unrecognizable. I mean, I was a full-time professional in the industry when Baker Mayfield was suing over having to sit out for being a walk-on, right? Like, this is crazy stuff to think about at this point. So I do think that we will come to a resolution. I think that the House case is kind of that first big thing, right? This is a legal precedent that's going to set the perspective of how we move forward. I think that what gets interesting now is, okay, the next piece is going to be, is there any legal enforcement, period? Right? Because so many of them have been challenged in the courts. Maybe that comes through a congressional act like the SAVE Act. Maybe it comes through the CSC managing to get all colleges to sign on. Maybe the CSC kind of believes they already have that authority and they managed to really go after somebody for going after over the cap in an illegitimate way. But that's kind of the next thing we're all waiting on, is to kind of see, okay, look, where is enforcement going to come from, and how rigid is it going to be, and how enforceable is it going to be? I don't know if that's going to be figured out by this time, by the middle of next year. I don't know if it's going to be something that takes 2 or 3 years to figure out, but I think that that's the next step. And once we get that figured out, I think it's going to slow down just a little bit. Again, we are in between, let's say, 2022, 2023, and 26, 27, I think that that's going to be seen as basically the no rules era of college athletics. I think that we're going to settle down a little bit, but again, it probably won't come in the next 6 to 12 months.
Sean, I think the biggest thing needs to come in an admission from the leaders of this sport that they're going to have to sacrifice some of the money that they are hoarding in order to save it. They've got to say, look, we can't just run in opposite directions and then be reactionary where, whether it's realignment, whether it's a TV deal, whether it's all these things where the SEC does one thing, the Big Ten responds, the Big 12 and ACC now have to respond. The G6 schools just have to sit there and go, okay, and figure it out, when they could, they actually are going to have to work together and admit some things that they don't want to admit, whether it's the G6 and the P4 don't need to be in the same playoff and they don't want in the same playoff. So let's just operate under something that we can admit that we don't want you and we're going to move on this way. Players are employees. We have private equity that's investing, so we have team owners now. Let's just admit these things and then build from there.
Yeah, I think that that's going to be a big part of it, like you said, is structuring some of this stuff. But, I want to go back to something that you said at the beginning. I think that when you're in this position right now where everything is so unstable, I think that, we've had this era of the haves and have-nots historically, right? Everybody knows that Texas has a lot of money and that Iowa State has less money. But I think that we're in this moment right now where all the haves are kind of fighting with each other for supremacy, right? It's that, I've talked about it in the context of the coaching carousel, right? Arkansas thought they had this coach, all of a sudden Auburn wants him. Auburn thought they had this coach, all of a sudden Florida wants him. Florida thought they had this coach, suddenly LSU has, right? It's this constant churn and one-upsmanship and trying to shape, kind of the sport in their favor. Obviously, all this stuff with Notre Dame being among it, the conversation we had about Texas throughout the month of November. And I think that that's going to be something, like you said, where a lot of the people who run this sport and a lot of the biggest voices in the sport are going to have to come together and say, what do we want this to be, right? Do we want ultimate consolidation? Do we want more and more teams to start getting kicked out until we've got 5 teams? What do we want this sport to be? What's the structure? What's the postseason? Who's involved? Those are questions that at some point the leaders of this sport, which are not necessarily the president of the NCAA, it's also the presidents and athletic directors at Texas and Ohio State and Michigan and all these schools, they're going to have to sit down and figure out, again, long-term, what do we want this sport to be? Because we can't be doing this perpetual arms race forever. That's just not realistic. That doesn't serve anybody. That's not quality for anybody. Frankly, it's not legally defensible when you get to the court system as well. But until that happens, I mean, and this could be something that's kind of brought from up on high, right? Like maybe Congress comes in and says, this is what sports are. I don't know. That's sort of, again, the $1 billion question that's being asked right now. But right now, again, we're in this perpetual arms race, and ultimately it's going to leave everybody broke.
Yeah, it's frustrating because you get ADs who say what, like Jamie Pollard said, or you get a coach like a Kenny Dillingham says what he said, and then you get, but it's like everybody's doing this from different parts of the continent instead of in the same freaking room. Like it drives me crazy that there have to be committees, and those committees, all they do is schedule another committee meeting rather than getting things done. And I would, if you had coaches and ADs and presidents all in the same room where they could speak the way they really feel, I don't know if they'd ever get anything done, but it'd be a lot easier. At least let's give it a shot.
Well, and this is one thing that we've seen, right, is that actually the SEC and Big Ten athletic directors have held meetings essentially with that group to try to find some consensus. But this is one thing that I think is really complicated, is that there are some disparate interests, right? Like the Big Ten wants certain things that the SEC is not willing to give them. And I think that the other thing too is that a lot of these stakeholders as well are afraid of staking their claim on something and being wrong about it and not being able to get out of it later. I mean, I think that's even when we talk about the playoff system right now, that's a huge part of what's happening, is that, everybody wants to say, well, should we be at 12? Should we go to 16? Should we have, auto bid? Should we have whatever? Like a lot of it is they're waiting to see, okay, well, what are people mad about with this playoffs, with this particular bracket? Let's complain about it next time, right? Like, I think that nobody, even when we get these people in a room together, are necessarily looking at the long term of the sport. Everybody's so short-sighted about it. Now, I think, again, that brings up the question of whose responsibility is it to look long term? What stakeholder who's part of this has a vested interest in the long term of it? And I think that that's probably one of the most unanswerable questions, because the answer right now is very few people.
Does Notre Dame look like a billionaire who's complaining that their private jet was late?
I won't say that exactly, but I think that so look, I want to be clear. Like, Notre Dame should be upset about how things were handled with the College Football Playoff Committee and the rankings. And I think that they deserve to say the way that you guys handled the rankings were ridiculous. I think that also they have done just about everything possible in the last 72 hours to make themselves look as unlikable as humanly possible. Because, again, like, Notre Dame is acting like they've been slighted by this sport when actually they are the most advantaged program in the sport, right? We talk about the idea of college football playoff governance. The management committee is made up of the 10 conference commissioners and also the athletic director at Notre Dame.
Yep.
After the playoff rankings were revealed, Ross Dellinger over at Yahoo reported that apparently Notre Dame signed a memorandum of understanding that if they're ranked in the top 12, they're essentially given an auto bid over any potential basically the last auto bid. So if that had occurred next year, then Notre Dame would have basically used their influence within the system to get in over Miami anyway. So, like, this is really not the test case that we need for and the sort of figure that we need, sort of making the case that the sport is messed up or broken or doesn't work for everybody, because Notre Dame is in a very unique place in terms of the way that the sport works for them. So I think that, look, I expect that we're going to get conversation about the system. I expect that, again, I hope that this sends a message to the playoff that we can't have the rankings handled this way, that we need to maybe understand what we're doing with these weekly rankings and how they impact a lot of these teams. But again, I think that Notre Dame has made themselves as unsympathetic as they possibly could through this process.
When I was growing up, and Shahad, as always, we appreciate your time. When I was growing up, I hated them because, well, they, and again, there was the aura, the mystique. I love the tradition, etc. But yeah, it was kind of like, man. And then they became irrelevant for not a long time, but they haven't won a national title since '88. But they still bring in big numbers. And now they're going to get an exception next year that if in the top 12, they get to go in the playoff. They're bitching at the same time. They've got a new thing that helps them next year. I don't know if I dislike anybody. when it comes to that anymore. But Notre Dame can push the envelope.
Shahan, I just warned them as an FSU fan. I've seen this playbook before.
Yeah,
it does not work out well karmically.
No, it doesn't.
Hey, well, no wonder they didn't want to be a part of the bowl game, right?
No,
but it's I mean, it is just to close things out. It is funny because, like, again, I'm 31, and like, I don't really remember national title caliber Notre Dame, right? Like, it basically, until, obviously they make it to the title game last year. We have the Brian Kelly season in 2012, but like, Brian Kelly Notre Dame is kind of like the peak of what I remember them as, right? Like, I don't remember Lou Holtz Notre Dame. I don't remember, going way back to one of the great programs of all time, right? Like, I think that there's a little more risk with the way that they approach things than maybe they do. And it'll be interesting to see, again, if you make the ACC mad and they don't want to do that scheduling agreement with you, well, you've all of a sudden got to schedule 12 games, and that ain't easy.
Absolutely.
That would be a huge issue for them. So I think there's a reason that we're already starting to see Pete Pavakwa, their AD, back off from some of his takes already.
Thank you, Shahan. Jahan Jeyarajah with us, CBS Sports with us on Tuesdays. We appreciate his time and also the knowledge and inside opinions. And it's good that people can hear them and you can make comments in the chat room. And I saw one that said he's one of our best guests, and I agree with you. That's why he's on with us almost every single week. When we come back, Brett McMurphy, I can't even imagine his phone over the weekend and really all the time, just on a normal Wednesday in June, must blow up. His thoughts about all of what he had to weave through when it comes to the playoff and the bowl games and the opt-outs and it was insane, and he's going to tell us about it and more. Brett McMurphy's next. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza. Bob Mock, the owner, 5 locations in the Central Texas area. And it wasn't long ago. There was a lot of pizza chains, a lot of pizza businesses around the area, but not Marco's. And now there are 5 fastest growing pizza brand in America. They've got the Craver Savor. It is a pizza along with some nuggets with nice barbecue, spicy barbecue, warm, melty, holiday pizzoli, pepperoni, sausage in a bun, fiery flavors, menu, fiery sausage and peppers on a pizza. They can get what you want. My favorite is a large, thin crust, all meat, pepperoni, Italian sausage, a little chicken on it, and might even throw in a couple of other things. I just love the pizza. It's really good. I call Marcos. They know where I live, and it's kind of hard to get to when I live off the lake, and they are there on time. And I always enjoy giving the driver a nice tip because I used to deliver pizzas. I understand the business. It was so much fun to do that back when I was a senior in high school and also making some money during my college years. Bob also was somebody that came up through the business from delivering pizzas, then running a store, and now owning them too. Marco's Pizza, 5 locations in Waco. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
4:30. It's on a Tuesday. Good afternoon, David Smoak with Paul Catalina. Craig should join us again soon. He had some dental work, maybe more than he thought. Brett McMurphy, the man, and On 3 Sports, who has got to be wanting to just get away on an island somewhere soon with all of college football. That again, that's what he does. He does well. Brett, how petulant does Notre Dame look right now, or are they petulant in your opinion?
That's a big word, David, but yeah, they do. It's I still can't believe they did that. I heard, they had their press conference today, and basically, said they were shocked and surprised that they weren't in the playoff. I can understand that if they're a minimum of 2 spots ahead of Miami for 5 weeks, and then both teams don't play, and then they get jumped by Miami. I can understand that. However, I'm in Las Vegas this week. There's a lot of college football events going on, the College Football Hall of Fame inductions tonight. And a lot of people, are talking about Notre Dame. And the characterization I get, to sum it up, is that they are arrogant. They are basically whining about things. It's shocking. And I know, Iowa State and Kansas State, they opted out. I don't think that's a good look either. I understand their decision a little bit more because they have coaching changes. They have players opting out. They're not going to have a lot of players available. But look, Kansas State was in that situation a few years ago in the Texas Bowl. And Greg Sankey flat out called LSU, Brian Kelly, talked to the AD, Scott Woodward, and basically said, look, you guys are playing in this game. I don't care who you put on the field. You were going to play this game. They only had 34 scholarship players. They played in it. And Notre Dame didn't. And a lot of people at the ACC are pissed about it because asked a lot of people, do you think if Notre Dame, if an ACC member would have done that, would they have been fined? And a few people said, well, it's not in our bylaws. And then a lot of people said, yeah, of course an ACC school would be fined. But Notre Dame's not fined because, well, they're not an ACC member, but they do enjoy all the benefits of being in the ACC without the commitment of having to be a member. So, will this happen again in the future? I think it will. And for the Big 12, basically the Big 12 is put a price tag on it. If you're bowl eligible and you don't want to play in a bowl, it'll cost you $500,000 and then you can get out of it.
Brett, how do you think this affects the structure of non-playoff bowl games going forward? Do they have enough weight and clout to keep it the way that they used to have it, or do they have to adapt greatly?
Well, I don't know how they can adapt. After Notre Dame opted out, I had a very good bowl source that I've known for a long time, basically say that, this is the end of bowls as we know it. RIP, it was a good run while it lasted. I don't think they're going to go away in 1 year. But I certainly think once the playoff goes beyond 12 teams, whether it's 16, whether it's 24, whether it's, we honor the late great Mike Leach and go to 64, whatever that number is, then I think bowl games are going to be gone. Maybe with the exception of a handful of games, maybe for the non-power schools or something that in communities that want to support those or whatever. But basically it's going to be the attitude of Notre Dame that if they're not in the playoff, there's nothing really to play for. And so we're going to opt out. We're not going to go play unless there are NIL deals that require these guys to play in postseason play. If those deals can be written into future deals, then there's a way to do that. But yeah, the way it is now, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. And a buddy of mine was joking with me, and he goes, "Hey, I'm sorry to hear that you're getting fired." I'm like, "Fired? What'd I do wrong this time?" And they go, "No, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just if there's no more bowls, you can't do your bowl projections, so your job's you're obsolete." So,
well, that is a big part of you.
I hope not. Look, I hope not. When people ask me this stuff, I tell them what I think. I don't, so I'm not trying to sugarcoat it by any means. But because I'm saying this, it's not like I want this to happen. I'm just saying, I'm just being honest, and I hate this. And I asked somebody that's very high up at one of the Power Four leagues about, well, if you guys go to 16 or 24, are you worried about the bowl system? And they're like, look, I understand the history of the bowls and everything, but we're beyond that. This is a totally different game. And so I think that's what, a lot of people are having a hard time putting their arms around.
Did you mention, and I'm sorry if I maybe just missed it, but the only thing that some of these bowls can do if they could afford it is offer NIL to keep it going?
I think right now, no. But I think once we expand beyond 12, then yeah, there's got to be some kind of contract, if you will, that requires these players to go to these non-playoff bowls, or you're going to have the situations where you have a number of teams opt out. And especially, we'll have to see what happens this year. You've got a number of coaches that have moved on to their schools. You've got 4 in the American. One of those is in a playoff, so their roster will be fine. But the other rosters, you wonder what happens at those schools with their coaches already moved on to a Power 4 school. Are all their players going to opt out? Are they already on the way to follow their coach at the new school? We'll have to see. I mean, again, I hate it for bowls. I think bowls are great. I love watching 2 meaningless teams play in December. It's better than watching reruns of The Bachelor or something. But I think that sums it up when that source I talked to said, look, we're past that. We're past the history and nostalgia of all the bowl games and stuff. This is a totally different world than college athletics.
Yeah, Brett, there's so many of them too. Like I do think some could, like some of the lesser ones could move to the maybe week 0 and be neutral site games. I mean, Bahamas Bowl is one that sticks out to me. Seems to me they get more people at the end of the summer than they would, with a 2-week notice at Christmas time from some of these teams. But there's so much has to change in college athletics, but not to get into the business side of it. To go back to Notre Dame a little bit, it feels like a lot of their ire is with the ACC because they have a relationship, but it feels to me they should be talking about Alabama more and why that wasn't a thing. Like, they're mad at Miami and they're mad at the ACC. Okay. But Alabama's the one that screwed you, really, not Miami.
Right. And they talked about, their big thing was with the ACC. They were mad and surprised, or disappointed and surprised, that basically the ACC social media campaign was basically all Miami and basically going, pitting Miami against Notre Dame. Well, Notre Dame's not a member of the ACC in football, so what do you expect the ACC to do? There was some, they were mystified again how the committee, and they called the committee, and accurately described the committee and all of these rankings, which I've talked to you guys about. None of them matter until the last one, but you create these false expectations of what's going to happen based on these previous rankings. And that's not good. So I don't know what we're going to do. We're not going to have any rankings for the last one and everyone's surprised. And here we go. And oh, by the way, ESPN has a current deal that the college football playoff must televise a minimum of 5 rankings before the final one. So that's part of the billions of dollars they're paying to televise the playoffs. So those aren't going away. I don't know what the solution is. That they've got their problems are with everybody basically. But to be very candid, and people that I've talked to that are not from Notre Dame don't have a lot of sympathy for them. If you don't like the way it is with the ACC, then join the ACC, or this is what you chose. And oh, by the way, last year when you went to the college football playoff, you kept $20 million to yourself.
Yes.
You don't have to divide. You didn't divide that up with the other 27 members or whatever the ACC is up to now. So you want to have it. Want to have it both ways. I'm writing a story tomorrow for On 3. As I told you, I've talked to a bunch of people here in Vegas this week. I'll share with you this quote I got describing Notre Dame, and I'll give you the PG version. Notre Dame is the guy that walks in the house, opens the fridge, eats all the food, then screws the wife, kicks the dog, doesn't pay the mortgage, and then walks out the door without any skin in the game.
Wow.
That sums it up.
Yeah, they kind of do feel like they could do that if they wanted to. Yeah. So I is there any legitimate possibilities that some of these bowl games can be like the basketball tournaments at the beginning of the year, or is that really of any value?
I do think that's a possibility. I know a lot of people have mentioned that. I think Rick Neuheisel said he thinks that all bowl games will be before the season. I do think that's a possibility. There's obviously challenges to that. Some of these destinations, the bowl destinations, obviously I'm down in Florida. A lot of them are in Florida. People come there because other parts of the country don't have great weather when you get into December. So would a fan base be as willing to go to some of these destinations in August or early September when it's, weather all across the country is pretty nice?
That's a great one. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
That's a concern. How are these, will these games be treated like bowl games? And that, the bowl games now, you've got all the events, the events for the players, which, that does still mean something and the communities put together all these things. Will those things still happen, or will it simply be you're coming into Tampa, you're coming into Orlando, and you get in on Friday and you play again Saturday and you turn around and leave? Is it just going to be like a road game during the regular season? That's another issue that they've got to figure out. And ultimately, how much will sponsors want to be associated with these types of games? Another thing, it makes sense to do that. But here's another thing: why are bowl games so successful now? Because they are, for the most part, the only football game on that day, on that night. Now, there are exceptions when we've got, a couple of bowls going head to head. Some instances, maybe you've got 3 on, January 1st or something like that. But for the most, there's 41 bowls. I would just estimate it, a minimum of 30, probably closer to 35 are on by themselves. Okay. If you put them before the season, that ain't happening.
No,
it's like a regular weekend in college football. So obviously that's going to impact television ratings. That's going to impact the bottom line, which is dollars and cents. So that could be a detriment to moving before the season too. I know that they will look at every option they have before they get rid of some of these bowls. But like I said, we're at 41 right now, including the playoff. And once we expand the playoff, I think that number will be cut in half at least.
By the way, I got to give you a response to the guy that walks in the Kealani. I kind of liked the guy until he kicked the dog.
Yeah. Well, but the way the guy described that to me, I could just picture it.
Yeah.
And when he threw in the kick the dog thing, and the other thing I heard is, Notre Dame opted out because they didn't get in the playoff. That's it. You know what? BYU didn't get in the playoff either, and they're still playing.
And
by the way, BYU would have played Notre Dame.
Yeah, exactly. Which I did a great game.
And somebody else told me, they're like, look, Notre Dame opted out because they knew all their players would opt out and wouldn't play in a non-playoff game, and they knew that they would go and they would get beat by a bunch of 25 and 26-year-old men from BYU, and then they'd lose that game, and then everybody would say, okay, look, see, you didn't deserve to be in the playoff anyway. So, again, everybody's got all the reasoning, but I just think it's a bad look. And I don't, again, hopefully they can find a way to keep this from happening in the future.
Brett, do you see any point, like everybody runs in different directions conference-wise, and Tim Pernetti said today, like, we've got to stop fighting against each other and fix this. What makes that happen other than a law or anything else?
Nothing. I don't see how you do it. You've got 4 power conferences now that want to do what they can do, or they want to do. They want to do what's best for their conference. We've talked about this before. Brett Yormark's going to do what is best for the Big 12, as he should. Greg Sankey's going to do what's best for the SEC, as he should. He doesn't worry about how's it going to impact the ACC, how's it going to impact the American, until we get a commissioner of college football. And I don't see those 4 individuals naming somebody to be their boss, because right now they answer to the university presidents. I don't see how you can do that. I agree with Tim. We need to do that. It's just, how do we do that? The best way to do that, which would be impossible, would be blow up the entire system and just start over. And just, because right now it's kind of like you've got a leak, your pipes are leaking. So you put some duct tape on it and that holds for a couple of years, and then something else. So then you put some more, then you get some rubber cement, and then it's kind of like that with college athletics. Something happens, so now there's a loophole, so now you do something to fix this, and then now the leak's in another part of the house, and now the roof's, it's always something. You need to just freaking level the house and start over, but of course, that's easier said than done. Or the SEC and the Big Ten combine forces and go do their own thing and create an NFL-like model, and then they can designate exactly how they want to do it, and then everybody else will try to survive in whatever format that's left behind.
Last thing for me, and Brett, thank you as always, man. The BYU Notre Dame game would have had good ratings. I mean, like really good ratings. Maybe not college football playoff ratings, but UT and Michigan. UT feels like they could have been much more a part of the discussion. They almost weren't even mentioned over the last weekend, and Vanderbilt and others. But UT Michigan, that could have a explosive type numbers, don't you think, even though it's a non-playoff game?
Yeah, I mean, you've got two of the biggest brands in college football, and Texas was top 15. I forgot what Michigan was, but yeah, that's Citrus Bowl. It's a standalone game. Yeah, that'll have monster numbers. And you're right, BYU Notre Dame would have been, 11, 12, or 12, 13, something like that. Highest rated or highest ranked non-playoff bowl, and probably would outdraw, I would say, Oregon and James Madison and Ole Miss and Tulane, because of how competitive that game would be, and just all the build up to how will Notre Dame respond after not making a playoff. But now we'll never know.
Brett, how many I said as it, but your phone, I can't imagine if you took a video of your phone and text messages going at once with coaches or whoever. You and I texted a few times on Sunday about who was opting in or what. I can't even imagine you juggling all those text messages and phone calls.
Yeah, Sunday was crazy. I was literally in front of my computer from, I'd say, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally did not. I think I got up one time, and yeah, it was just, there was so much stuff going on. And then you had the Iowa State, Kansas State stuff. I mean, the Kansas State stuff, that was out there, so we kind of knew. I kind of knew that was coming down the pike. And then about 11 o'clock Eastern, I got a tip that, hey, something's going on at Iowa State. And then I was tracking that. And then I was tracking all the ACC stuff. And I hate when people do this, but I'm going to do it. I literally was like 2 minutes away from reporting Notre Dame was considering opting out when they announced that they were opting out, because I was hearing from so many different people, and I wish I would have gone a little bit sooner. But obviously I was tracking that, just plus everything else. It was crazy, man.
Thank you, buddy, for all you do. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
I know you don't do a lot of these cut-ins, but you do them with us. We really do appreciate it. I know our viewers do too. Have a great week.
Anytime.
Thank you. Brett McMurphy from On3 Sports, and he's an insider, no doubt. He is, man, and has a little sense of humor along the way. Do we have the super chat from yesterday saved by any way, Brandon? We don't? Because that retired stockbroker sent a super chat in. He told me, I hope you saw my super chat. Maybe I missed it. It's not the record. Posted about what I posted per Craig. Speaking of which, I'm just going to make a decision. I think I have the rights and I have the legal rights to. He's done. No, that's it.
Yeah, well,
he's still in the chair. They're doing impressions. Do you know what that means? He's probably getting some sort of bridge, a new tooth, or something, because then they do all the things they do, mold it, and they get it done, and then you have a temporary. So I don't know what. He's done a lot of dental work, Craig, and I'm glad he's getting it done. But he just sent me a text. So we're dragonless, and we're just going to go on this way. No,
I know you're admitting it now, but when we crossed 415, 420, I thought that was kind of
off the radar.
No, like I just thought like, okay, well, unless he's in the parking lot like listing online, like waiting for a good time to come in, then he's on his way here. By the time he gets here, we're off at 5:30. Like what's going to happen here? So
I think what I should do here it is for 70,000, 30,000 more to see the Dragons dome. Yeah. No, if we get to 100,000, Craig will take off the hat.
Yeah. And
thank you, retired. Thank you.
Such a thing to see Craig without a hat that every time someone like within our circle, like my wife, like anybody who doesn't see him with a hat on, Maybe even you and
it's
Jennifer.
not like it's like he doesn't have this big old skull like I do in front. This big whatever that is. Look at the way my hair's. That's kind of almost young looking, isn't it?
Sure.
No, it is.
Yeah.
I look like one of those Hollywood guys. They kind of just spike it.
Yeah,
it's like Guy Fieri.
If you can ignore all the things that happen before you get there.
Hey,
but
I can take. Somebody said Smokey said I brought you into this world. I can take you out. No, he could take me.
The first time Amanda ever saw Craig without a hat on was at Jennifer's wedding, and she was like, "I just realized I've never seen him without a hat on."
No,
and it was
brother,
striking.
His uncle Tony is exactly. They're very similar the way they act, but Tony's like that too. Tony had a little bit of more space up top without the hair. Mm-hmm. I did look like a young Hollywood star there for a minute, didn't I? Let me try to position this again. Get a little bit of that spike. No, it's not. There's not enough. There's not enough to work with. Yeah, there we go. All right. The dragon, he stood us up. He can. He's the dragon, right? So no off the radar, and that's fine. We have a couple. How about patches on uniforms? Remember, we've discussed this. When we come back, we'll get to that and more. Brandon Rowe running the mothership. Andrew Valade is here today. Garrett Ross is also running the mothership too. And Logan Bagessi is he's busy today.
It's in Stephenville today. It's got finals.
Oh, at Tarleton.
Yeah.
At Tarleton State. Okay. All right. I did see, Stephenville's got a showdown coming up with Salina, I think, in high school football, which will be just is that who it is? I think it is. Banger of a game. All right. Ole Miss, the offensive coaching staff got a little cavalry. We'll get to that. We'll get to the patches on college uniforms and Paul's top 5 around the corner and more. This is 365 Sports.
Don's.
I know. I like the way, hold on. I got to lean over, man. I'm sore today. I had a really hard workout this morning.
So just so people know, when Smokey and I first started doing radio shows together 15 years ago, on the radio show, what the previous co-host would do for Butch Henry, our legendary co-host live spots, which were amazing, he would say, Butch, why don't you talk a little bit about double R old-fashioned hamburger?
Yeah.
And so Smokey came in and said, well, that's dumb. Like, we're just going to have a list and you're going to go down the list. Well, as Smokey has approached Butch's age, when I started,
he was 87.
Yeah, Brandon is now doing that for him.
Okay, here's the deal.
Which I enjoy.
Okay.
Greatly.
I have a rundown that we all kind of like back and forth with the text messages. Here it is. Make sure I don't have anything. Here's the rundown. It's got all the guests and stuff and some of the stories. And then Brandon, before the show, about 2 out of every 3 times will say, hey, you want lives? Or he'll email them to me, and I don't ever see anything. I don't pay attention. So I wrote them down. All 4 of these live endorsements. But then it's stacked underneath.
Wait. Take away the lower third. Okay, now go to him.
All right. See all this paper?
Yeah, that's the problem.
All this, it's stuck, and then I can't find it, and it's right in front of me. But, all right, we'll do Don's.
The end of the rainforest is right
endorsement.
Here.
Yeah,
it's right there.
Hell of an endorsement. So Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, you know him, 48-foot walk-in humidor. That's where I get most of the time my cigars. And let me tell you something, that I will have them in my laptop bag when I get through the airport and security, because you don't put cigars unless you can really deeply hide them inside your luggage, or they'll probably confiscate them. But I have a Pelican case. I've already got it ready for what cigars I'm going to take down to Florida, because my oldest brother, Michael, and then also my youngest brother, Philip, we will smoke a bunch of them while we are out on that beautiful, beautiful view in the 17th floor at Hutchinson Island and just wherever else we go. So I got them ready. I got them from Don Humidor, and Don Humidor is also wanting to help you lower the cost of what you buy by going online. Waited forever for this, and then Joshua got it done. DonHumidorWaco.com. If I find out that if you smoke cigars and you haven't ordered at least just a couple of 3 or 4 or 10 or a box I will hunt you down and we will ban you from the chat room. DonChumadorWaco.com. Go online, order some cigars. They've got the website's there, and use the coupon code SMOKEY, 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 and receive a full 25% off the entire cart of what it might be a 2 or 3 Romeo and Julietas, or maybe there's an Ashton or a Perdomo or a Cohiba, Padron. 25% off. Use the code word SMOKEY, SMOKEY. That's what they have at Don Chumador and Coffee Beans with Cheyenne and others inside the Town West Shopping Center between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco.
The Wrap Up the Year sales event means big savings at Allen Samuels in Waco. 0% APR on new Ram 1500. Or how about combined bonus cash allowance of $8,000 on select 2025 Jeep Wranglers. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA, Insured Retirement Advantage, is a solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. If you're an asset manager or a licensed insurance agent looking to provide your clients with guaranteed tax-free retirement income and legacy protection, the new IRA Insured Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from North Star Funding Partners. For more information, go to northstarfundingpartners.com and tell them 365 Sports sent you.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
This is Richard Carr, and it's hard to believe, but 2025 marks our 26th year in the car business. I want to thank you for your support over the last 26 years. As a locally owned business, our customers in Central Texas community are also friends and neighbors. If you haven't been by lately, I invite you to come in and experience our amazing lineup of Buick, GMC, and Cadillac vehicles. Our goal is to make you feel like more than just a customer, but as a valued neighbor. Let us show you why we are people you can count on at Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
365 Sports from David Floyd. Does Utah's private equity deal, which we did discuss off the top of the show today, change the tax status of a University of Utah? They cannot be nonprofit.
Well, it's a separate entity. So they're breaking it off. So it is a separate
Maybe
entity.
literally.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's what they're doing. So Utah won't get taxed. The Utah Athletics, big money bonanza, whatever they're calling it. I mean, there's a name for it, but that's what will get taxed.
It's
so
Kim was telling David in a response, I think they said outside entity LLC.
Yes, that's what it is. So that's what they'll do. It is, which means that the state funds thing is going to come into question for athletics in a lot of regard. But we'll see. The way things work in college athletics and pretty much every walk of American society is get the money first, ask about the details later. And that's not a great thing. But
yeah. By the way, this has nothing to do with but one of the notes I got on a text when it came to Doug McNamee, the new Baylor AD, was Doug listens before he talks.
Mm-hmm.
How many people do that?
I hope most.
I know, but I don't think everybody does, especially in a position where you have a little bit of, some decision making. You damn sure better. It makes you, you should. But I think a lot of people who act like they're listening and then they already know what they're going to say in the first place. But that was all right. Now,
I know he's. I can just tell you from personal experience, a great listener. I mean, he really is.
I beat his ass in golf though the other day this is like other day might have been 6 or 7 years ago. Now. How about this picture of the UNLV football jersey or uniform and a patch? Accesso Biologics, multi-sport jersey patch partner across 4 programs in a 5-year deal ahead of the 2026 NCAA patch approval.
All right, I need to find out what Accesso Biologics does. Regenerative medicine.
Okay, I am in the middle of doing something like that with stem cell, right? With my hip.
Yeah.
In my lower back.
So
it is it's been an improvement at times. I don't remember that I had that gnawing type. That was QC Kinetics though.
Yeah.
Which is the business I've been at.
Sports medicine allografts, spine and ortho allografts, and PRP therapy. Okay.
Yeah, it's regenerative type stuff. And I'm telling you, it depends, but I've had some success. A lot of people that watch this show, or especially the little in the chat room, is people have had lower back, or like Kim's going through something, or others have. What was it? John Peterson has had some back issues. We share a lot of that information, but that's what that is. Accesso Biologics.
Good deal.
Are we good with patches on football jerseys? It doesn't matter if you like it or not. It's money.
Yeah, I'm fine as long as they're. I mean, and this is. A less ostentatious patch. Craig uses the example of the Mariners Nintendo Switch patch, which got bigger by the game, just expanding over their shoulder or their arm on the jersey. So yeah, I'm fine with that. Like it's, I am fine with anything that gets them from asking fans for more money, like keeps them from that. Can we just stop? Figure out ways to get more money from the people who love you the most. That's the thing that is upsetting is that, and this is, I mean, I don't want to go around about everything in the world, but when it comes to sports, as a sports fan, you've been asked to pay more and more and more and more and more. And I don't think that necessarily what you get for what you pay has gone up in a parallel value.
Give me an example. I know an example of what tickets I bought for an event that I thought I would never thought I would be a part of, and how quickly that the prices went up based on supply and demand and a decision they made at Augusta National.
Yeah, I mean, look, and here's the thing.
Besides tickets, the Super Bowl tickets used to be $250. I know that was like, now they're thousands of dollars, and it's because of corporate America getting more and more involved.
Exactly. And, one of the things that like Augusta lives in this weird pocket universe of, okay, this is how much the tickets are. These are our policies. We'd like to keep it at this because they do not this is their one event. This is not like what people maybe don't understand about Augusta is that the majority of their money is made the other 362 days a year or whatever it is from the fact that it's the most elite golf club in the universe. Like that's where they do it. And now their outward attention comes from the Masters tournament, but they don't do anything else. Like there's not another event there to that. So they go all out, but they make sure that the people who come, who don't always get to be at Augusta National, are treated well. And that's different. Like they haven't raised the price of the egg salad sandwich or the pimento cheese or the iced tea or whatever. That stays the same. That they're going to make their money and they're not like there. But I would say that one lives in a different pocket of sports commerce. Now, look, you build a new stadium. The stadium's nicer than it was. I'll just use the example of Texas Stadium to AT&T Stadium, one that I know intimately well. Yes, it is nicer. I expect the tickets to go up because it is nicer. But if you're going to make Smokey paid $90 for a barbecue sandwich and Thankfully, it was actually a pretty good barbecue sandwich.
Yeah, it was.
Then it better be good. But if you're going to raise the price for a hot dog and it's still the same damn hot dog, that's ridiculous.
No, the hot dog is made the same as it was, or God knows how it's made. But no, it's the same hot dog that Oscar Mayer or whoever else had in 1964.
Yeah, so those are the things that bother me. And so most of the things that you get when it comes to raising ticket prices, asking more from your fans, and all this doesn't match what you're spending. It's not really that much different. Look, a Rangers ticket, yes, Globe Life Park and Globe Life Field. Globe Life Field, really nice place. Globe Life Park, I loved it so much, but it was hot. And it was still less hot than old Arlington Stadium, which was just a block of cement. So yes, for nicer chairs, I'll pay more money. But again, nothing else changed. What other amenities did I get from sitting in left field? Nothing. And that's where I think that bothers me. What Baylor did here with their tailgating is a fantastic example. They sold these Revel XP or tailgate guys or whatever it was at the time, whatever it is now, these kind of tailgating turnkey experiences as kind of white collar or white glove service. And it wasn't that. It was people were paying more and getting less than what they got before. Now, was Baylor maybe not selling him at a high enough price before? Sure, and that's fine. But they kind of went past all that and back into a bad thing. So whenever you raise prices, I think it should be incumbent on you ethically to make sure that either you have to raise prices so that you can still make a profit, but also that your customers will get more or get exactly what they were paying for before without any reductions. And quite often in sports, you pay more and you get a little bit less.
Yeah, no, the ticket prices, of course, have gotten to the point where still there's some fans that can go, but most of it, the fans are priced out. So the same ones who gets priced out of the Super Bowl are going to and then think about this. Like in 1995, the whole family, we went to Tempe and enjoyed the greatest, I think, sports memory, Nebraska beating Florida to win the national title with that great team. But what if they would have won and then had to go to L.A.? What if they would have won or had to go up to the, somewhere else, a dome up north, and then they won again and they had to go to Tampa? There's no way. That would have blocked us off. The one-time deal, and that's you got this going. I don't care how big a university is, how much money people have. That's a toll. That's a toll to go 2, 3, 4 games. I don't care if you're USC, Michigan, Texas, or Ohio State. That's a toll.
Yeah, and that's why you'll see more of these postseason games wind up on campuses where they should be. College football is better on college campuses. That's just the bottom line of it, and it'll get there. But also, I do think that someone needs to step up or have the ethical clarity to say, let's make sure we're giving the fans the most we can give them, because that's not really the case right now. And look, what fans want more than anything, more than a nice seat, more than amenities, more than Wi-Fi in the stadium, is just for your team to win the damn games.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you put yourself in this position in college athletics. Look, in the pros, I know that my expensive ticket, part of that money is going to Dak Prescott. I get it. It's been in there. And after I leave the game, other than if I want to buy a jersey on my own or some sort of memorabilia, Jerry Jones doesn't call anybody up and go, hey, Cowboys fans, we got to sign George Pickens to an extension. I need you to buy more tickets. They don't. It's already built in. With college athletics, if you've asked me to donate money for an 8-4 team that you want to get to 10-2 and then to 12-0, and then I don't get anything more out of that, then I'm going to start getting mad.
Yeah, but again, the colleges are getting more and more money, and yet there's still not enough money even for those who get the most money.
Well, the thing is, I think at the core of all of this,
there needs to be an investigation where this money's going, man.
Exactly. Is that they could not have to ask the fans for so much if we really broke down and had a collective bargaining agreement, some sort of contract, and we would admit where all this money goes.
Well, a lot of it goes to Brian Kelly and $54 million because you're a dumbass.
Well, and a lot of it goes to debt
state
service on facilities and all of these different things. So like Brett McMurphy said just a half hour ago, they're going to have to reasonably fix it. They've got to tear down the building. It's not working and start over, but that's going to take a lot of people who right now, the conferences who are making a ton of money, saying, well, to make this sustainable, we've got to change. But right now, all the world is telling them like, hey, you've got to take the asbestos out of the walls. You're killing the sport. And you're like, but asbestos is cheap.
But the ratings have never been better. Yeah, Stuart Mandel made that comment. I guess it was on Friday of last week or over the weekend. As much as they have screwed this up, and yet again, the ratings and the viewership is higher than ever before, so the interest is there. You wonder if there's to a point where they do something that just even that bubble pops. General Ursus, if you're old enough to remember how things were 25 to 40 years ago, before NIL started, this crap and everything being a cash grab, get down on your knees and thank God college football has seen its better days.
And look, there were certainly simpler times. There's certainly simpler times. I think the football is as good as it's ever been, if I can block all that stuff out of my mind. But yeah, it was simpler times. And we get nostalgic for simpler times. And maybe it stops progress. But, and this is just my life changing as I've gotten older. I get mad when things get big and corporate and cookie cutter. I don't like that our friggin' Outback Steakhouse closed. I don't like that.
Really?
Yes.
The one here in Waco?
Yeah, I don't like that. And it didn't close because nobody likes Outback Steakhouse. Well, I mean, part of it, but everybody used to love it because they used to really care about what they were doing. Then it got bought by this company and this company and this company and this company. Well, and it was a shell of what it was. And I see what's going on with Whataburger right now, and I don't like what I'm seeing.
Well, and remember, when I moved to Waco, one of the things that I used to always, every time I'd go to the Super Bowl, the guys on staff, wherever we were, we'd go to Hooters. We'd fly in on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't like what's happened to that company.
And then we have the Hooters here in Waco closed down, right?
Yeah.
I was stunned that they had one in Waco, and I was thrilled that they had one in Waco, but now there's 10,000 different chicken places.
It was a fight. Let me tell you, it was a fight. There were that entity right down the street did not want that to happen.
You mean Baylor University?
They did not.
They didn't want the girls to show off their breasts or what?
They did not want Baylor girls working at Hooters, but I do think that there was a bit of.
I would think that's a recruiting tool.
There was a bit of hyperbole as to what a Hooters was. I think that when the people who really were putting the money behind this, to try to stop it, they'd never set foot in a Hooters before. And now listen, we all know what Hooters was. I know it's collapsing as a company right now, but what Hooters was, but Baylor had this really extreme version in their head of what it was.
Oh yeah, it was a strip joint that served wings.
Yeah, it was.
There's some gentlemen's clubs that probably do that. You and Garrett told me about the one in Phoenix.
No, I just drive 30 miles south of Gainesville.
My brother Michael and I, when we come back from the other side of Florida Sunday evening, because I have a flight coming out. I think I've been asked to move it, but we will stop at Hooters outside the Tampa airport and have a little snack dinner or whatever. And it's not even a big deal. It's just we'll watch football when we're there. I tell you what, Hooters is. It got to the point where it was more and more. It got greasy, more and more greasy, more and more greasy.
So they used to have good, all of these restaurants. They paid a little bit more money for better ingredients, and then over time, as you get bought and shifted around corporate structures, they go, hey, we can save $1 million a year if we just buy chickens that are barely alive.
Yeah.
And then the wings get smaller. I
can't believe Outback closed, though. I haven't been to one in a long time.
We were using this fry oil, but this one is made with the recycled jet fuel, and it only costs, 10 cents a gallon. Well, let's do it, and so it just.
Yeah, that you mentioned Whataburger, too. And all right. So when we come back to top five, and Paxton goes, I know what set Hooters spiral is called Twin Peaks, which is the same thing, except maybe a little bit more upper class.
It was bad. It was bad corporate leadership is what sent it spiraling. They opened an airline. Who cares?
What
are you doing?
I paid the first year I went to the Masters for 4 days of pass, and my friend Eric took care of it, but I eventually, of course, paid him back. It cost about $1,600 for 400 hours per round to go to inside Augusta and have a pass. On the ticket, it was like $175. Augusta's not raising their prices. It's the supply and demand. And man, are they trying to really crack down on that, because they don't like the fact that it's gotten outpriced for the normal type fan, although golf's an expensive sport. In 2 years after I went the first time, it exploded to nearly $1,500 a round. And then it got higher and higher and higher. Now you can get some stuff online, but yeah, that's the supply and demand and how things have changed with that as well. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina and the top five will have our wheel and quizzes. By the way, Craig, hopefully back tomorrow. I've got one more day before I head to Florida for a few days with my brothers in Florida. And this is 365 Sports.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com, use our promo code 365sports. Here are my top 5 ideas to save the Bulls. Now, none of these have to work in Congress. Some of them you can maybe grab bag, but these are just different things that they could do, because after this weekend's news, bowl games as we know them are more than likely over. So how do we change them so that they can exist and benefit more people than just the bowl committees and coaches who don't leave their programs? Because right now, the benefit to a bowl game is far different than it used to be. Do we like that? Not really, but we have to attack the realities of the sport. Number 5, move some of the lesser bowls to week 0 or pare them down completely. But I think the Bahamas Bowl would do a lot better if it was in August and not in December. I think people they may want to go, but fans are not going to divert their holiday plans to go to the Bahamas because their 6-6 team made a bowl game. That's just not going to happen. So the Bahamas Bowl, like whatever kind of tax grab or whatever it is, that would be way more fun if you opened the season in the Bahamas. You think Ireland's nice? Have you been to the Bahamas? That would be something. Plus, it would be more of a focus for that bowl committee. Do something like that earlier in the season as opposed to at the end when teams are, again, 6-6, 7-5. Maybe not necessarily fans are going to run out and go to those games. Number 4, a college football NIT. This has been discussed since the playoff came around. This would allow the bowls to, put something together to, kind of keep people interested where, okay, if you win, you get to keep playing just like everybody else. I don't know the feasibility of this running concurrently alongside the other college football playoff. And just because it works in basketball and it's already starting to change in basketball, does that mean it will work in football as well? Not necessarily, but it's an idea, and I think fans would maybe enjoy it. And this is just ignoring the fact that eventually we're going to have the conversation about the P4 and the G6 and whether they're in this thing together or not. Number 3, and conference tie-ins. Just go by the rankings. So our nightmare that we had this weekend would not really have gone by, okay, well, the Big 12 has 7 bowl tie-ins and the ACC has 8 and the SEC has 9. No. Just end the conference tie-ins. They're less relevant than they used to be, especially since random bowls well away from, like the Pinstripe Bowl as a Big 12 tie-in. Well, the New York is only close to one Big 12 school relatively, and that's West Virginia. So, like, what are you doing? I mean, yeah, look, New York's a great visit, especially during the holidays, but let's be honest, like the regionality of the bowl games where if you won the Southwest Conference, you went to the Cotton Bowl in Dallas a mere 4 hours max from wherever you were, that is different now. That has changed. So since regionality in bowl games is not important anymore, just take the rankings from 13 on down and match them up until you run out of bowls. Just go. That may be more interesting. Plus, you may see teams that you never, as a fan, get to see play before. That would be exciting, which is what bowl games used to be. But now because of conference tie-ins, you know, if you've been in the Alamo Bowl, say, 10 times in 30 years, 4 of those times probably against the same team. So is that as exciting when it's the Alamo Bowl and, you know, you are TCU and you've played Arizona 3 times? I mean, I say that like Big 12, Pac-12, how it used to be, but even still adds a little more spice to it. Number 2, conference versus conference showdowns that rotate. So one year could be the Big 12 versus the ACC and the SEC versus Big 10. And then you shake it up and move it around and do all those things all the way down the line so that the bowl games are this. Like, these are the, like, we're going to do this again, this is a basketball thing. I left Pete Vivacqua's picture up here because I couldn't think of anything else to put. And this would mean he could flutter around to whatever conference he wanted to. So there you go. But conference versus conference showdowns. And then Notre Dame can weasel in wherever they see fit. They can rotate around. They can be the team that like fits in when there's odd numbers of teams that don't make bowls. I don't know. So, I mean, I didn't just forget to change the picture. That's not what happened there at all. Number 1, pay the players, you idiots. Just pay them. You could literally change no things about it. All those 4 things I just said, take them, throw them out the window. Pay the players. And I know it's tough to play 85, 100 guys, but you've been taking a bunch of money and putting it in the coffers of a city for a long time. You can take some of that money and pay the players. And then maybe, like, when the team goes, oh, our coach is leaving, should we go? The vote goes, yeah, dude, I need $25,000. Let's go. If you don't want to play in it, say you pulled your hamstring and GTFO. But we're going to this bowl game. We're going to do that because not everybody's going to the NFL. All right, I'm going to be lucky to be catching passes for the Argonauts, the Birmingham Stallions. Papa going to get paid. Again, if you just pay the players, like all this, like, the bowls as we know it, oh, God, how do we fix it? Pay them. Just pay them. They'll do it. They will do it. The most American thing ever is doing something for money. That's it. They're like, you know, George Washington, if you asked him, like, what should we do? At first, he would be like, well, first, you have teeth not made out of wood. Can we get on that? And 2, just pay him. Although he was a fan of indentured servitude and unpaid labor. So maybe I picked the wrong guy.
I was going to say those teeth weren't wooden.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. But I do think that, like, if you did take like a guy with wooden teeth before he got into anything else and like brought him here, you remember that show that was like Sleepy Hollow where like Ichabod Crane like woke up in modern times?
Yes.
Like the first thing that would he adjusted too well, too fast. The first thing he would do is be like, wait a minute, you can fix teeth? You can fix teeth? That's what I would have said. Anyway, but just pay the players, you idiots. Just pay the players. It's time for the carnival. A rant that sometimes seems nonsensical, but is actually brilliant. That's what I'll say.
You're complimenting yourself. You can't do that.
I did.
You can't.
No, I can't. Okay. Which football position needs more love and appreciation?
The long snapper.
You stole mine.
I did?
You stole mine. It's, I used to not think this until I did 20 years of high school football broadcast and watched punters get destroyed. Not because they couldn't punt, but because the long snap was a rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, long snappers need more appreciation.
Yep.
I think linemen are finally getting their just due. I think they're finally getting that. But I do think long snappers, really, if you don't have one, it's obvious.
No, and I've seen teams that are really, really good who have a terrible special teams because they can't get the snap even to the extra point or field goal holder, and it just floats or it hits the ground and it rolls around. Sullivan Zaboral of Midway was like 68 of 69 snaps this year. Might have been more than that because Midway, I'm talking about punts, extra points, field goals. All right, it was dental day, I guess, with retired stockbroker and Les were at the dentist. Craig's been at the dentist. You met George Washington.
Yeah.
Daniel Acton. I think I brought this up. Our North Star Funding Partners pick'em winner, Daniel Acton from Temple, Texas, finished a game ahead of both Barry Crawford and retired stockbroker to win the $100 gift card. It is on its way.
Okay, let's go to our trivia questions now. This NFL team's fans originally used cheesehead as an insult before it was embraced by their rival team.
Well, the rival for the Packers is Bears.
The Bears or the Lions, but I would say the Bears. I would say the Bears.
I would say the Bears first. Yeah.
Yeah. If you watch that game the other night, man, they really do hate each other.
Chicago, Caleb Williams, man. Yeah. Yep, there we go.
During their 1985 Super Bowl winning season, Bears fans coined the term cheesehead as a jab at their rivals, the Green Bay Packers. Packers fans quickly turned into a badge of pride, celebrating Wisconsin's top cheese-producing status. The iconic foam wedge hat was created in 1987 by Ralph Bruno and has since become a staple of Packers culture, worn by fans and celebrities alike. And that's how you beat a nickname, kids.
Yep.
You embrace it.
Yep. I remember, the late Jerry Kramer. Is he gone?
Yeah.
Hall of Famer eventually, the right guard on the famous Ice Bowl. Interviewed him very early, back in the innocent days of the Super Bowl and Radio Row. Interviewed him, went really, really well, and he sent me a cheesehead in the mail. It was pretty cool. It was like he had a thing going on with a company. That was really, really cool.
He brought me sandwiches many years.
Very much. Blimpies?
Blimpies.
Yep.
Yeah, Blimpies. A great deal. Okay, next. This college football program once formed an all-star team to play the New York Giants in a 1930 charity game during the Great Depression. Michigan, Alabama, NC State, or Notre Dame. NC State is the real outlier here.
Yeah, that means it's probably the answer.
It means it's probably the answer. I mean, I would say it's Notre Dame because that to me would be the team that would
either Andrew is trying to be sneaky or it's just obvious and he had no other choice to put bangers around NC State.
Or he liked the picture. He liked the logo. I'm going to say Notre Dame. I'm not going to believe it's NC State.
It is Notre Dame.
There we go.
Yeah.
The 1930 charity exhibition game at the Polo Grounds featured the New York Giants versus an all-star squad of Notre Dame legends, including the Four Horsemen and Coach Newt Rockne. The event raised $115,153, a massive sum at the time, to support New Yorkers struggling through the Great Depression, showing that the NFL's tradition of community impact goes all the way back to its early years.
1930, what is it now? What is it now? Let me see what it says. It's the equivalent now of $2.2 million.
There we go. Wow. That probably fed a lot of people in 1930 during the Depression. Okay, our poll questions. Should Notre Dame repent to the crying Irish?
Stop
it. This is Andrew. Yes, it's the perfect 85%.
That's why he's a headline writer.
Here's the thing. No, South Bend sit-outs is better.
No.
He didn't even give them a nice option.
No, the crying Irish makes sense. And that's something you'd see up on in a lot of places. That's perfect, Andrew. Very well done. Dominant. Unlike Notre Dame's 10-game dominant streak.
Now when they score touchdowns, the mascot, instead of doing push-ups, just goes and sits in the corner.
Yeah. I love their is that Michael Jordan wearing an Irish hat?
That's the crying Jordan.
Yeah,
meme.
the crying Jordan. Okay, now, was the college football committee, the playoff committee, wrong to include 3-loss Alabama over 2-loss Notre Dame or even BYU? The answer, 75%. 500 votes say yes.
Yeah, 75%, 500 on the nose. 25% are clearly SEC fans.
Every day we have Paul and his top 5. We have the wheel, the spin. We have the quizzes, which Andrew tries to get us. And then, of course, we did well today. Paul got the Notre Dame one in 1930. And the poll results that we show early on and then also a couple of times throughout the show.
In spite of that red herring he threw in there.
Yeah, the NC State thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tried to draw you offside.
And look, here was my logic on that. There's a ton of Catholics. Notre Dame was the biggest thing. And if you would have told people in 1930 that NC State was going to play an exhibition game against the Giants, they'd be like, "Who the hell is that?"
Yeah. No, it would have been like the tree that fell in the forest. Thank you, Garrett Ross. Wearing his Montreal Expos hat today. Brandon, is that Sendero that you have the hat on? And then also Andrew Valet today doing his thing. Craig, I hope, will be out of the dentist chair by tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow. Then I hit the road for 4 days to Florida. Paul Catalina, thank you, sir. Appreciate all of our great sponsors. Those of you who watch, whether on Twitter or YouTube, and, of course, the sponsors we have every single day that give us a chance to stay open. I'm David Smoak. Good night.